it looks to me, and to I guess to most people watching, that she's just said one thing and is doing the other.
It also looks like a party without principles, right? If she says it must go ahead for the sake of democracy, then it looks like every other council leader doesn't follow the basic principles of Conservatives, which should be to defend freedom and democracy. And the reorganisation will mean that the next local elections in 2026
is delayed by 1 year.
Can you let me speak? Will be delayed for a year. Let's see if people would have voted for that. That means they either really didn't plan well, or they're more draconian and they wanted to slip this through the back door. Basically,
there's an argument that people didn't read the manifesto well enough, and perhaps if they had done, they wouldn't have voted for it. But they did vote for it.
And these people were voted in for a certain term. The only way you get to extend your term is to take it to the voter. You don't get to extend it. What's next? When will they delay elections next?
Are the Labour Party and the Conservative Party conspiring to keep reform out of power? In this video, Alex Armstrong and his panel on GB News discuss the cancellation of local elections and Kemi Badenoch's stance on it. We also explore the timeless leadership principles of accountability and decisiveness. Before we get into the details, if you love diving into political issues and enjoy hearing a principled take on them, then hit the like button, share this video, and subscribe to join the conversation. It will help our channel reach a wider audience.
Frankly, I think Kemi Badenoch, the Tory party leader, is either a coward or completely and utterly powerless. And that's because local elections have been cancelled again by this increasingly Orwellian authoritarian government, costing up to 10 million people their right to kick out their councillors. But Kemi Badenoch, after hearing the news, came up with some tough talk.
Let me be very clear. The Conservative Party policy is that we should be fighting elections next May.
And so has her Shadow Housing Secretary, James Cleverly.
We've made it clear, and I've made it clear long before this announcement, that we should not be cancelling elections.
But GB News' own Christopher Hope has revealed that Kemi Badenoch has now refused to overrule the many Conservative councils across the country that would be facing public scrutiny next May. The Labour government, of course, are trying to wash their hands of any responsibility here by passing the decision to suspend elections directly to councils. But that's like asking someone, would you rather like to spend another year in office or lose your job, isn't it? Because they're all facing a wipeout to reform UK. And frankly, this act of moral cowardice by Kemi Badenoch shows to me that the Conservatives have learnt nothing since they're trouncing in the general election, and that they're willing to behave just like the Labour Party are, avoiding public scrutiny. I think when you're a politician, you must face scrutiny whether you like the odds or you don't. And I think what the Labour Party here has done is very clever because it hands the baton down to the political parties and themselves, but it's shown Kemi Badenoch up.
I disagree. I think you've got to remember that the Conservative Party is ultimately a party of localism, and she's saying that she's not going to dictate from the centre, which is actually, I believe, what she should be avoiding doing. And I think that you've also got to remember that a lot of these elections would only have stood for a year. And so the money involved in running 2 elections versus running 1 is actually a very sensible decision to only do 1 set of elections, because the cost involved is significantly higher than that allowance.
Why can't you reorganise after? Why can't you hold it?
Because we are reorganising after. This is after the proposal. And so when you create a unitary authority, which I appreciate is not something that you've had to do in London, but out in Gloucestershire, where I'm from, is a very different kettle of fish. You are merging district functions into the county function and multiple district councils, both of which had staggered election processes. So what this is doing is rectifying the staggered election process into one election process in 2027 instead of 2026, so instead of having elections only stand for 1 year.
So you reorganise after the elections. The thing is...
for 1 year.
The thing is...
the reorganisation is happening right now. It's not something you can park for a year. It doesn't really work like that.
Once you cross the threshold that you can cancel elections for reorganisation, it's a very slippery slope, because voters voted those people in for a set term.
Yes.
And you only get permission to extend that term from the voter. You don't give it to yourself.
Okay, the voter voted in the Labour Party, which promised reform of local government, and this was one of the reforms that they promised.
They didn't promise to cancel elections.
They did promise to bring in unitary authorities, and what this is doing is rectifying the electoral system for the unitary authorities. It was in their manifesto. So technically people did vote for this. And I'm sorry, I'm not taking it from them. They didn't. They got the majority, quite a big one.
They did not vote to delay. If they said the reorganisation will mean that the next local elections in 2026
is delayed by 1 year.
Can you let me speak? Will be delayed for a year. Let's see if people would have voted for that. That means they either really didn't plan well, or they're more draconian and they wanted to slip this through the back door. Basically,
or there's an argument that people didn't read the manifesto well enough, and perhaps if they had done, they wouldn't have voted for it. But they did vote for it.
Did they say they were going to cancel local elections?
Massive local government reorganisation is always going to take longer than 6 months.
I don't think they said they were going to cancel. Then they shouldn't have said it. Then.
My understanding is as of late, Liz, and I think you make a good point. Maybe it was buried within the policy. However, I think the average Joe like me will look at the manifesto on face value, go, yeah, you want to reorganise things, fine, we don't care, do it. But actually, the case for suspending elections is not strong enough in this case. That's my opinion.
And these people were voted in for a certain term. The only way you get to extend your term is to take it to the voter. You don't get to extend it. What's next? When will they delay elections next?
Very nice. That sounds very nice.
It sounds very nice, but it also presumes that in a year's time they aren't voting for an entirely different entity, an entirely new entity, which is what they are. To be fair,
you either believe in democracy as an absolute or you don't. I don't care what the reason is. You don't just cancel elections for reorganisations, because then you can cancel it for something else.
Well, the point I was trying to make, and I said I am disappointed in Kemi Badenoch here, because she has been quite strong, at least publicly speaking, lately. And I think if she says this is scandalous, and she said this should never go ahead, and she hates it so much, she should enforce her party line on this. Yeah. And I agree. I understand what you're saying about localism.
There's a localism issue.
I understand that, but at the same time, if you're going to go out in the public and say we should have elections, then you should enforce that, at least on your party, if you want to be taken seriously. Again, looking at it from the average Joe's perspective, it doesn't look like a good, strong leader. That it looks to me, and to I guess to most people watching, that she's just said one thing and is doing the other.
It also looks like a party without principles, right? If she says it must go ahead for the sake of democracy, then it looks like every other council leader doesn't follow the basic principles of Conservatives, which should be to defend freedom and democracy.
Politicians should freely allow themselves to be scrutinized by the people in elections, whether they like it or not. Once they have done a good job for the people, they should happily present themselves for the day of reckoning. If you decide to take away or postpone the public's right or privilege to make their own decisions to vote for you or not, you are basically moving away from the fundamental cornerstone that holds a democratic nation together. No amount of promised change alters this basic truth. It doesn't matter what plans Labour has to overhaul local government. That should not have any effect on the specific time that the elections should be held. This attempt to delay scrutiny comes at a time when public trust is already at rock bottom. The British people are already upset by open borders, illegal migrants in 4-star hotels, plans to cancel jury trials, free speech suppression, digital ID, high energy prices, and high taxes. Are these some of the reasons why Labour is trying to avoid the inevitable? Is fear of electoral judgment the same reason why the Tories are seemingly siding with them? The people are looking for hope, and that hope is being stripped from them. Hope deferred makes the heart sick, and the British people are sick of the way that they are being treated by the British government. This evasion isn't just unfair to voters, it is a failure of leadership. The pressure should not be placed on the council to decide, while you say that you're not dictating from the centre. Leaders must stand and make decisions. As a leader, if you have a vision for your party or the nation, everyone in your party should be aligned with the vision. You should not be shrugging your responsibilities just to place the blame on someone else. Good leaders welcome judgment if they believe in their record. True leaders own their decisions fully and face the voters without delay or excuse. They act with clear resolve and hold themselves accountable to the people they serve. Now is the time for every one of us to expect that same accountability and decisiveness from those in power. Stand firm, speak out, and refuse to accept anything less. If you have benefited in any way from this video, please subscribe, like, share, and be sure to leave us a comment.